Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now Bitcoin is still forming this massive descending broadening wedge pattern as the price is still repeating history in the short term, while Ethereum is also still repeating history. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the 4-day Bitcoin chart, and I'll keep it very quick today because over the last one day, not a lot has really happened in the crypto markets. So here on the 4-day time frame, we're still seeing this red signal or bearish signal basically in the super trend indicator on the 4-day Bitcoin chart. And so as I've already been saying here on the channel, this is basically telling us that at least for now, the trend here on the 4-day time frame is technically more of a bearish trend as of right now, forming lower highs and lower lows. But during this bearish trend, we can see the occasional pump back to the upside during the bearish trend. So also keep that in mind as well. And while the price of Bitcoin has been forming basically this bearish trend right here, playing out this bearish trend, we're actually also forming this massive descending broadening wedge pattern, which obviously I've mentioned recently here on the channel, with resistance at around 68,500 and support at around 53,500. And so while the price of Bitcoin is in between this support and this resistance, especially while the price is below this resistance, technically speaking, the trend is still bearish, forming lower highs and lower lows. And now, if we can eventually see a confirmed breakout with candle closes back above this resistance right here, then in that case, that would actually set up a major bullish price target for this descending broadening wedge pattern. But obviously, as of right now, we have not confirmed any breakout above this resistance, which means at least for now, we do not have a confirmed bullish price target for this pattern. And instead, as of right now, the trend is still technically bearish as the price is sitting below this resistance line. But obviously in the more shorter term, just over the last 1 week approximately, we have seen a bit of a bullish relief during this bearish trend, which is also what I've been talking about recently here on the channel. And if we're taking a look at this daily time frame, one of the reasons why we saw that bullish relief was because the price was basically bouncing from oversold territories as shown here in the RSI. But as I mentioned yesterday, the daily Bitcoin RSI is now sitting back at neutral levels. It has reset back to the upside, which technically now gives us some room to either direction based on the RSI alone. So basically the RSI on the daily time frame is not telling us too much at the moment compared to around a week ago. Obviously a week ago, I was saying that this RSI is telling us we're due to see a relief from the bearish trend. But now that we have seen that relief, once again, we now have room to either direction in the RSI. Technically, we could see a little bit more of a bullish relief, or we now technically have more room to the downside compared to a week ago, just based on the RSI. So we now need to look at other charts and indicators to help determine the direction of the price of Bitcoin, at least in the shorter term. And with that being said, if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart, as of right now, we're still playing out a bit of a rejection from this critical level of resistance right here, based on previous resistance and also based on the volume profile indicator showing quite a lot of resistance at around 63,000 give or take. So for now, that is still resistance to pay attention to. And if we see a confirmed breakout back above 63,000, in that case, we should find a little bit of resistance at around 64,500 and significant resistance in between 67 to 68.3k. And also, now that we've seen a breakback below this area on the chart, we could find a bit of resistance in between 60,000 to 61,000. And when it comes to support, we do have a bit of short-term support at around 57,500 based on the volume profile indicator here. And below 57,500, we have more support in between 56 to 57,000 based on previous support in the price, and more support in between 51,000 to 53,000. And if we're zooming into the shorter term, looking at the 4-hour time frame, right now the price of Bitcoin is still essentially within more of a bullish relief at the moment, very similar to what we saw back here near the bottom of the March 2020 crash, a short-term bullish relief, but technically speaking, we have not confirmed a bullish trend reversal here on the 2-day chart, for example, because obviously there's been other times during this bearish trend right here where we've seen a slight bullish relief in the short term before eventually the continuation of the bearish trend later on. So for now, we have not confirmed a new bullish trend on these slightly larger time frames, but we are playing out a bit of a short-term bullish relief during the bearish trend. And based on what we saw back here near the bottom of the March 2020 crash, this bullish relief could likely play out over the next couple of days or so. It's likely going to continue at least for a little while longer. And obviously I said it in my last video here on the channel that I do expect another bounce very soon in the price of Bitcoin, and over the last one day we saw exactly that. We saw a short-term bounce forming a slightly new higher low essentially in the price of Bitcoin, at least for now, which so far is playing out as expected. And so now that this has played out basically exactly as expected, what do I expect for Bitcoin moving forward? And well, right now, honestly, I expect a bit of choppy sideways price action. So neutral price action, just a sideways consolidation for the next 1 or 2 days or so during this bullish relief right here. And I say that for a couple of reasons. First of all, we are losing a little bit of bullish momentum here in the RSI, for example. It's starting to trade more sideways at the moment. And also we have seen some rejections from key levels of resistance right here. So the price is struggling a little bit in the short term to go further to the upside. And so that's a sign of losing some bullish momentum just in the short term here, pointing towards a bit of choppy sideways price action likely coming next over the next 1 or 2 days or so. And also, if we're taking a look at what we saw back here, it also aligns pretty well to what we saw back here. Now, back in this previous situation, we did see a little bit more of a bounce back to the upside before then around 1 to 2 days worth of sideways price action, because we actually bounced back up towards close to this previous high right here, which would basically be this high right here at around 61,500, give or take. And so it's possible we could come back up to maybe 60,000. So obviously that's very close to the current price. But essentially what I expect for the price of Bitcoin just in the short term is basically range bound price action here for the next 1 or 2 days or so, most likely in between around 57 to 60K, give or take. And believe it or not, no matter if the price is bullish or bearish or even chopping around sideways here, you can make money in either direction using long positions or short positions, for example. And if you want to know how you can easily profit in choppy sideways price action, then stick around to the end of this video to find out more. But either way, personally, when it comes to trading Bitcoin and basically any other crypto, personally, I take just about all of my trades over on Bybit. So I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit down below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link down below this video to make a Bybit account and deposit on that account, then you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. And also, if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here, which is a massive lucky draw happening right now over on Bybit, where you could potentially win up to $100,000 or free Bitcoin or Ethereum or USDT just by trading crypto using the link down below this video. And so if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link down below this video. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there is also Bitflex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitflex. And so I'll also make sure to leave a link to Bitflex down below this video as an alternative crypto exchange. And with that being said, taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map right now, and as of right now, we do have a little bit of liquidity to the downside at around 57.6K approximately. And so at least for now, that is a level to pay attention to here in the short term. And other than that level right there, we do have a little bit of liquidity at around 56.6K and more liquidity at around 54,000 to 54,500 in that price range right there, just above 54,000. But it's important to understand we cannot just rely or focus on one single chart by itself. We need to factor in multiple charts together to figure out what is most likely going to happen. So even though we have a decent amount of liquidity at just above 54,000, we have to also remember that we have important support in the price of Bitcoin here that is between the current price and 54K. And so even if we see some sort of move closer towards that liquidity to the downside here, we once again have to keep in mind that it's possible we could even bounce before even hitting that liquidity, considering we have major support between the current price and that liquidity. And so obviously that's why I talk about multiple charts, indicators, patterns, and signals here in these videos, not just focus on one single chart, because it's not one chart that affects the price of Bitcoin. It's many different things that help affect the price of Bitcoin. And as for liquidity to the upside, we do have a little bit of liquidity right here at around 60.9K approximately. But other than that, we do have a decent level of liquidity in between around 62,000 to around 62.2K and a little bit more liquidity at around 63,000. And in case you're new to this channel, usually the price of Bitcoin likes to go towards where there's a lot of liquidity. So essentially those levels of liquidity are just levels of interest to pay attention to, some important levels on the price chart that usually the price of Bitcoin likes to take out. And with that being said, if we're taking a look at Ethereum on the weekly time frame over the last one day, not a lot has really changed on this chart right here. So we're still playing out that massive bounce from this area of support in between around 2000 to 2150. And so if we're taking a look at this 3-day time frame, of course, we're also continuing this bounce from this golden pocket in between around 2150 to 2.2k approximately, and also bouncing based on the candle closes right here from this 50% retracement level, acting as support at around 2.5k. And so those are the important levels of support to pay attention to. And when it comes to resistance, we do have an important level of resistance sitting right at around 2.8k based on previous resistance and previous significant support in the price, now acting as new resistance once again at around 2.8k. And as for the trend right now, it is quite clear here on the 3-day time frame that the trend is technically bearish. If we're simply looking at the highs and the lows, technically we're seeing lower highs and lower lows, which is what a bearish trend is. And remember, during a bearish trend, we can see the occasional pump to the upside or bullish relief during a bearish trend. And if we're zooming into the shorter term, looking at the 4-hour time frame, of course, over the last 1 week approximately, ever since that crash that we saw close to a week ago, we have seen a short-term bullish relief play out pretty much exactly as expected, because once again, we're seeing very similar price action, obviously not a 100% perfect copy, but very similar price action right now to what we saw back here near the bottom of the COVID crash back in March 2020. And so simply based on what we saw back here, and also based on what I said earlier in the video for Bitcoin, what I expect right now for the price of ETH over the next 1 to 2 days is honestly relatively neutral price action. We could slightly see a little bit more of a bullish relief here, but I do expect the bullish relief to start slowing down a little bit over the next 1 to 2 days. Because once again, that aligns with what we saw just here. We did see that bullish relief right here after forming that slightly higher low. That's what we saw right here. And then we saw a short-term pullback and then a bounce, short-term pullback and then a bounce. And what came next was basically a bit of sideways price action over the next 1 or 2 days or so. So relatively boring price action is actually what I expect just over the next 1 to 2 days. But once again, you can actually make a lot of easy profits in choppy sideways price action just like this. And if you want to know how to do that, then like I said earlier, stick around to the end of this video to find out more. But first, taking a quick look at the price of Solana on the daily time frame. And right now, Solana is still finding some strong support over the last 1 or 2 days around this area of support in between around 140 to 144. And so at least for now, that's the support to pay attention to right now. But if we were to see a confirmed break with daily candle closes back below around 140, then in that case, our next major area of support to the downside is sitting in between around 120 to 128. And that's also basically the major area of support that's at the bottom of this massive sideways price range that the price is currently in. We're in more of a neutral trend on the daily time frame, not necessarily bullish or bearish, because right now we're seeing horizontal lows relatively speaking and horizontal highs relatively speaking. So once again, this is basically just a massive sideways price range with the price chopping around sideways with support and resistance in between. Now, obviously, I just mentioned those areas of support, and when it comes to resistance, we do have some resistance at around 159 to 162 approximately, and we have more resistance in between 170 to 175 and in between around 183 to 187. And so over the last 1 day, honestly, not much has changed at all on this chart right here. And once again, if you want to trade these moves in the price of any crypto, check out those links down below this video to claim those extra bonuses. And if you want to actually know how to make money in crypto with trading crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways just like this, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.